Have I expressed how much of a big deal it is that I'm finally going to Japan? I think I have definitely gotten that point across, but I just can't believe it. It's truly overwhelming. Even for myself that, I've been practicing so much how to organize these kinds of trips and that I do this for other people. Now that it's like so meaningful to me, I'm just like, oh my God, am I missing anything? It's coming up, like, am I ready? So this video, welcome back. We are going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what we are doing on our holidays. And I know that if you're going somewhere for a month, for 10 days, for 2 weeks, and you're like, damn, I have to really make the most out of every single minute that I'm there. How am I going to separate what I'm doing every single day? I have to have a plan, an itinerary from Monday to Monday for 2 weeks, that can be a little bit scary. My first step when you're going to start planning something of this magnitude, whether you're going to travel through a specific country or a region, maybe you're going to Southeast Asia, or maybe even a city. Maybe you're just going to New York City and you really want to get to know the city ins and outs in an entire month. I mean, that would be amazing to have a whole month to discover everything there is to see in New York City. So it doesn't really matter what your destination is. What you first want to define is your route. How are you going to navigate, right? Even in a single city, defining your route without a plan can be very overwhelming, because if you're like, oh my God, I want to go to Chinatown. But personally, I want to spend the whole week in Chinatown because there's so much to see, but I also want to go to Brooklyn. So you want to make a concrete plan of how you're going to divide your days. What you need to consider when you're making this decision is where these places are geographically. So you want to create the itinerary in a way that the days flow according to the geography. You have to spend the time reading blogs, reading the experience of people that have done the exact same trip that you want to do. And there's going to be hundreds and thousands of people that have done what you want to do already. And everybody does it differently. I'm gonna use the example of my upcoming trip to Japan. We're going for 3 weeks, so that's a pretty good amount of time. Personally, I am just so excited to spend as much time as possible in Tokyo. It's just the one place that I know that I want to really prioritize. But we still want to see as much as possible. We still want to go to other cities, I don't think I'm gonna go to Japan many times in my life. We're trying to maximize the experiences. So knowing that Tokyo is my priority, I have decided to spend the entire first week in Tokyo. And I want to do this right when I get there, because after 3 weeks of traveling, even if you're super excited and you have planned everything really well, you're gonna be super tired. That's why I'm prioritizing Tokyo first. I just want to basically cover as much as I can about Tokyo, eat as much food. I don't wanna miss a thing. I wanna smell and I wanna see everything. So I wanna get that, as you could say, maybe out of the way before I have a chance to get tired. So that is my logic. I would say put the most important thing first. First step is Tokyo, number 1. At least I know where we're arriving and what's the first thing we're doing. We're doing Tokyo. What about after that? I have 2 more weeks. We, of course, want to go to the other major cities, which is Osaka and Kyoto, Hiroshima. So that's what we're prioritizing. But we also wanted to include some nature and other rural, off the beaten path kinds of experiences. So how do you choose where to go? It's all about the research. You go, you read all these blogs, different places that catch your eye. You start taking notes. I start putting them on the map, identifying all the places that look really interesting to me. You do have to come around and make a decision of what is going to be your route. This is when you decide what stays and what goes, right? So you have your priorities, you have the places that are non-negotiable, and then you have the other places that you're just like, oh my God, this is gonna be so worth it. I have to find a way to put it in the itinerary. Once you've chosen your locations, now we have to distribute the days. This is obviously just a ranking of priority. Like I said, I'm spending an entire week in Tokyo, and then the most we're spending in other cities like Kyoto and Osaka are 3 days. Then there's a number of other cities which we're only spending one night, and that's kind of just the off the beaten path experiences that we really want to squeeze into the itinerary. Another important factor in defining your route is your method of transportation. This again is going to be different for everybody and also depending on the destination. Maybe you're somebody that likes to rent a car when you travel, but maybe you're traveling in a region of the world where it's very easy to travel by train, like Europe and Japan, actually. For transportation, we decided to buy the Rail Pass, which gives you free access to long distance travel for the amount of time that you purchase the card. Based on the train routes, that's how we've decided to connect the cities. So how to decide what cities to visit first? You want to visualize where these trails are on the map in order to see how you're gonna get from one to the other. This might sound really logical, but sometimes in the heat of the moment, if you haven't planned this, something so simple like this can really just go over your head and you end up spending a lot of wasted time in getting from one place to another. There are really two different ways of doing it. You can either take the longest route, which is traveling all the way to the farthest point of your route and then doing your road trip or your train trip back to your final destination, or the other way around. So here it kind of just depends where you want to leave the long length of the trip. Hello.
Hi, baby.
Okay, so this is the map of Japan, and I just want to show you how we decided our route. All of the red points that you see are the places where we're going to be sleeping. So these are all our hotel accommodations, and we are over here in Tokyo, which we will be spending our first week here. And then we have two options, either to go this way with the train or this way. And because we have decided to leave the longest leg until the end of the trip, because we will probably be very tired, we are going this way, stopping in Kyoto and Osaka, which are the two other cities that we're going to be spending some time in. The longest leg of our trip is all the way from Hiroshima, which is the most southern point of our itinerary, to Takoyama, which is over here. I think this is about a 6-hour train ride. And then from there, we will connect back to Tokyo. So it's kind of a loop, a long oval loop. This is supposed to be the fun part. This is where you're going to invest all that hard work that you will need in order to produce a fantastic itinerary. I'm giving you the methodology. I'm guiding you through my steps. I'm sure there's a million other ways to do it. This is just how I personally do it, but you really have to put in that work. So reading about your destination will become now your full-time hobby. In between work, in between picking up your kids, in between whatever it is that you have to do throughout your day, when you're waiting at the doctor's office, you get that phone out and you just start reading. The more you read, the more you will discover about what you want to see. So buy books, buy magazines, join Facebook groups, read forums, go on Reddit if you will, do all of the things. That's what I do. But most importantly, do not underestimate the power of social media when it comes to travel research. Specifically, if you're interested in niche topics. So if you travel for hiking or if you travel with your pet, there will be a niche of people that do the same thing. Myself, I travel for food. All of my budget and my energy and my time and my research is basically revolving around finding out the most memorable food experiences and finding the restaurants that I don't want to miss. So since I started planning for Japan, I've basically gone down endless rabbit holes on Instagram, finding Japanese influencers or travelers, or on YouTube. There's a bunch of Westerners that live in Japan, so you can kind of get a combination of whatever it is that you're looking for. Something that I think is super important and that I try to do every time I'm researching a new destination, especially when it's somewhere that is not in the Western hemisphere, where there may be like a language barrier, the research may be more difficult. For example, Japan, all of the things that I'm able to read and digest are created by people who speak English or Spanish or a language that I understand. but we also want the experience of local people and what Japanese people are thinking about it. So also try to squeeze some time and energy into doing some translation. So for example, if you're looking at restaurants, when you're looking at the reviews, Google will already do the translation for you, and you can see if the review was given by a foreigner or by a local person. So if I'm reading the reviews and I see that most of the people that are leaving the review are local, that's a fantastic sign that it's not a tourist trap. So you start identifying those little cues, and that's exactly what you want to do. I know everyone has different travel styles and interests, but personally, I do try to seek a combination of seeing a city, seeing a country, and doing all the touristy things, but also discovering more of the local scene and also like a more underground and underrated scene. So I try my best to stay away from chains. You will never see me going into a Starbucks anywhere in the world, really. Maybe in the US, but I will never go to a Vapiano's if I'm in Italy, for example, or anywhere in Europe. So you might see this in my travel style and in my travel research. All right, so you might think that I got a little too excited, but we finally got our books that we ordered on Amazon. So research is about to get real heavy. I'm so excited. Look how beautiful these are. This is a cookbook, but it takes you through like a journey of the street food and the different food scenes of Tokyo. In terms of aesthetics and graphic design, this is incredible. Then we have Hello Sandwich. This is a travel book about really like underground places and with a focus on food as well. So pretty. Then we have the newest Lonely Planet and another one about little streets to discover in Tokyo. What a beauty. She's so pretty. And this is because we like had to control ourselves. There were so many other ones. Like this author has many different cookbooks and one is prettier than the other. I wanted to buy all of them, but we're gonna start with this one and I'm so excited. The rate at which you digest all of the information that you're going to be reading is completely up to you. Because we bought the tickets for Japan 1 year in advance, I didn't really start my research until 6 months before our departure. However, I've never spent this much time on planning a single trip. This is definitely the most devoted that I've ever been to any trip that I've ever taken. Having said that, you do not need 6 months to plan an amazing holiday. Having 6 months to plan Japan was definitely a luxury, but whenever I'm working on an itinerary for a client, I usually have to compact all of this work into a few weeks. What makes travel research so much more than just finding an itinerary online and following it to the T is that a pre-made itinerary will only tell you where to go when. Whereas when you spend time reading books, magazines, blogs, and other people's experiences, you gather insider information, such as these very useful tips that I came across on the books that I bought. The tuna auctions, né? Okay, it's like the most famous place to do the tuna auction.
No, that's Tokyo. The most famous tuna auctions is in Tokyo, and we are doing this. There is also one in Osaka, but the most famous is Tokyo.
Although travel planning and travel research can be overwhelming, make sure to take your time. Planning your holiday should also be an enjoyable part of travel. I've always said that the planning stage of a holiday is like being on vacation already, because you already get to imagine yourself being in these amazing places long before you even get there. And if you ever feel like you need more support on planning your next holiday, then just send me an email. Check out my website at travelgoldenhour.com. So good luck on this research phase, and when you're done, we will be ready to make bookings and create the itinerary. See you on the next video.